Salam, and thanks for joining the Halal in Travel Global Summit hosted by Crescent Rating, and a warm welcome to this session on the Medina Network, a sustainable model for knowledge tourism and its potential impact on developing local economies. My name is Dr. Bárbara Ruiz-Bejarano. I'm the director of the Medina Network, and I would like to introduce the panelists who will be discussing with me. So I welcome Victoria Trasobares, who is the director of Territorio Mudéjar. Welcome to Ms. Rosinda Pimenta, who is the vice president of the Câmara Municipal de Mértola. And welcome Mr. Pedro Valcárcel, president of Sharqalandalus Association. Let me introduce the topic. If I can have one slide about the Medina Network, I will briefly explain this project. So the Medina Network is a project that aims to connect and give visibility to the more than 4,000 Andalusian Medinas in the peninsula between Spain and Portugal. Most people visit only two cities when they come to Al-Andalus, Cordoba and Granada. They're, of course, two big capitals, but there are many other places and territories to be visited. And this project aims at gathering the information about these Medinas and making it visible to potential visitors. And also the focus is on knowledge tourism. So we want to provide the tourists and the visitors with an experience which is based on true knowledge. So many of these Medinas are Andalusi Foundation and others developed under Andalusian rule. So there are multiple evidences of tangible and intangible heritage connected to Andalusian civilization. So the Medina Network intends to connect these sites and the logical threads, be it around a type of building or an agricultural practice, particular product, or a relevant character. There are more than 200 individuals that were significant for the history of Al-Andalus, and many of these are not yet known or not very well known. And especially we want to connect these people to the places where they inhabited. The Medina Network also wants to connect these places using logical threads to create new experiences for the traveler. For example, all of you may be familiar with Ibn Arabi, the Andalusian philosopher who was born in Murcia. Then he moved with his family to Cordoba, where he met one of his first masters, Fatima, a Sufi lady who introduced him to Sufi teachings. Then later on, he went to another village between Cordoba and Seville called Marchena. And then there he met another lady Sufi, Shams, and she was the second master to Ibn Arabi. And finally, he came to Seville when he started exploring Sufism. So Ibn Arabi, a great character, as we know, he traveled extensively throughout Spain, and it's not very well known, some of these places connected to him. So these four locations, there's a logic to connect them and to, visualize the history of Ibn Arabi in particular. The network also has a special focus on sustainable tourism and on the opportunities for local economic development in connection with Islamic heritage. Many activities are unconnected and scattered in the peninsula, both in Portugal and Spain, and we can capitalize on synergies with other partners and territories. And also the project has an e-commerce platform to showcase specialized products, not only to visitors, but to other people who cannot travel. So in this panel, I would like to present, or my colleagues rather, are going to present their own experiences and their own projects on how they work around Islamic heritage in their territories. So please let me give the floor first to Ms. Victoria, and she will show the projects for Territorio Mudéjar. They focus on the northern part of Spain, And I think you will be very surprised with the information she's going to share with you. So, Victoria, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Thank you. It's a pleasure for me to be here with all you. And thank you for your attention. I have to explain our project. We work with the Mudéjar architecture of Aragon. This site is World Heritage UNESCO since 21, and the rural heritage in the valleys of the province of Zaragoza in the northeast of Spain. Territorio Mudéjar Association is a private management entity in which government bodies collaborate based on a project whose outcomes directly influence the regions through the responsible and sustainable management of the Mudéjar cultural heritage. The entity was established as an association of city councils whose objective is the consolidate and unified collaborative management network for the use of the historical and artistic resources linked to the Mudéjar. Such resources are deemed a driving force in the development of the towns and the identifying feature for upholding the communities existing in our regions. We work since September 13, 2018 with 20 members, municipalities in the province of Zaragoza at the start, but the entity so grew to 44 members now and remains open to new additions. The members are partners or members, simple, and the part agreement with other entities as Medina Network in the next future. But what is the Mudéjar? Is the first question. Mudéjar art is, in general, the result of a cultural fusion between traditions, East and West, a rich culture created through the exchange of knowledge and experience between Christian, Muslims, and Jews in the history of our territory. Exclusive to Spain, reflects the history of Aragon in an art whose development in the countryside is surprising due to how it contrasts with the perception people used to have of rural art. The association arises from an identity-focused approach to sustainable regional and rural development based on Aragonese Mudéjar heritage. We talk about architecture, but also urbanism, landscape, agricultural and ethnographic heritage, and historic society, traditions, language, music, and gastronomy, of course. Its main goals, or our main goals, can be summarized as the first, designing a working philosophy based on a project whose outcomes directly affect the region through the responsible and sustainable management of the cultural heritage with innovative and a cross-disciplinary perspective. The second, raising awareness about cultural and heritage assets that reach beyond monuments to include agriculture, water-related, ethnographic, and tangible heritage handed down through the Mudéjar tradition and the things to the changing times in the evolution of the regions and its inhabitants. And the third is the focus of our work from the local to the international level by using the World Heritage brand as an umbrella through which to spotlight the wealth and the diversity of the regions, offering tools to the future, wealth in terms of culture, education, population, and directly or indirectly, the economy, of course. What we do, we have 3 hours of work. research and projects, communication, and investment and development. The first is now the most important area for us because it is the area that is strategic for the other. We sold sponsor up to grants for fieldwork in our rural region in order to study and design ways to implement projects related to cultural and heritage resources, seeking synergies with innovation and rural schools, skill building, and networking of professionals in the heritage field within the rural setting. We have important projects. In a few weeks, we launched our fifth call. Since 2019, we have selected 23 projects from different fields, and one of them has been the project assessment of the Muslim-friendly potential of the Mudéjar territory for the reception of knowledge tourism by the specialist Barbara Ruiz-Bejarano, who studies the opportunity to make visible the great Aragonese Mudéjar heritage for the Muslim tourists around a new form of knowledge tourism. Our quality focus on heritage, history, and its heritage contemporary. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you, Barbara and the Medina Network, for your invitation, and it's a pleasure for me to be with you here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. I think we have still 2 more slides. Maybe you would like to comment on
I think that, okay, the first is this is the second, okay? The first is the town of Tobet. It's one of the examples of World Heritage Site from the Mudéjar Heritage, and it's one of the most important. It's very near to the time of the Alhambra in Andalusia. Is the same time of the Palace of Nazaré, and for us is one of the more exposition of the style. The second is Daroca. It's a place, it's a council very interesting because it's the perfect fusion between all the traditions, the Christian, the Muslim, the Jews, and the town is a photo very precise of the time, no, the fusion of the cultural fusion. And the third, it's a visit from the last summer with Barbara and the people from Qatar and Washington that visit us in Tobet, Daroca, and other towns, very interesting. And one of the producers of our regions, that is pottery workshop, I think, but it's a contemporary ceramic, very basic than the tradition of the Mudéjar.
Thank you. Yes, this is especially this last slide that shows the ceramics workshop is one of the opportunities that heritage offers to small businesses, especially in rural areas, because Tobet is a very small village.
Yes. Yes.
And there is this massive church, and it's got this mix of Islamic and Christian elements. It's very surprising.
Yes. Our city councils are only 200 inhabitants. Inhabitants is a few inhabitants, but it's very special because all the inhabitants works in areas very interesting, I think, for the tourists, the Muslim tourists for us. And the scientific tourist is very important for us because we think that our territory is perfect to research and to grow up the knowledge, no, about the cultural fusion in the story of the territories. Okay. Hello. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
I can't hear.
Barbara, I can hear you.
Islamic heritage. Rosinda, the floor is yours.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you all for the opportunity to present the Mértola project at the Halal in Travel Global Summit. I will talk a little bit about what we have been doing here in Portugal and in the town of Mértola. This is the town of Mértola. We are placed at the banks of the river Guadiana. If we can go to the next slide. We are placed in the south of Portugal, near the border to Spain. Mértola is a village, like I said, located on the banks of the Guadiana River, and this river is navigable until Mértola and connects Mértola to the Atlantic. And this fact made it possible for ancient civilizations of the Mediterranean, such as the Greeks, the Romans, and also the Muslims, to come to Mértola by boat, and made Mértola an important point on the ancient Mediterranean trade routes. So the Islamic presence in our territory dured more or less 5 centuries. So we had the presence of Islamic culture from the 8th to the 13th century. If we can go to the next slide, please. So this presence left a lot of marks on our cultural heritage. And so this, our society in our days, in our culture, is very strongly influenced by this Islamic heritage presence. So in our village, it is very easy to see some architectural elements that can prove this influence. Also, we have a lot of archaeological remainings and findings that can prove the presence of this culture. Also, our Portuguese language has a wide variety of words that are origined and that have Arab origin. Also, our gastronomy, our music, our crafts, they all have clear elements that are influenced by this presence of 5 centuries in our territory. The next slide, please. So, what have we been doing regarding the valorization of this cultural heritage Islamic influence? So we have developed a project that has 2 main areas. The first one was the production and also the dissemination of knowledge related with this period, because in the early days, a long time ago, we didn't have a lot of knowledge about this period. So in 1978, a group of archaeological researchers started to study this period here in Mértola, developing a lot of archaeological excavation projects where we could find a lot of remains that proved that this Mértola was a very important place in the Iberian Peninsula for the Islamic culture, especially related with the location and the possibility to bring products from the Mediterranean to the inland, because Mértola is an inland river port. So one of the main and most important projects we have is the Mértola Archaeological Research Center, with many researchers related with archaeology, history, anthropology, sociology, a lot of different disciplines that study this period of Islamic presence in our territory for 5 centuries. From this work, we developed another project, the project of the Museum of Mértola. The Museum of Mértola has 14 different sites, so it's not one big museum, it's 14 sites. And 5 of those sites are related with Islamic heritage. So we have an Islamic art center with a very important collection of ceramics from that period. We have also the former Mértola Mosque, which is now in our days our church, our Christian church, but still has the ancient mihrab. So the Christian altar and also the Islamic altar are both present in our church. We also have Al-Kasuva, which is a former Islamic quarter that was excavated during the archaeological excavations, and also a replica of an Islamic house. This Mértola Museum is very important, not only for tourists, but it's very important for us to disseminate and also communicate the knowledge that has been produced around the Islamic period. So it's also very important as a dissemination instrument of this knowledge near our local community, but also near schools and near the other public. The other area that we have developed was to put all of this knowledge in value. We created a local strategy for tourism to develop some tourism offer inspired in this cultural Islamic heritage. And so some of our projects related with that are, for instance, the Martela Islamic Festival that we have been organizing since 2001. And it's a cultural festival where we take the opportunity to communicate and give knowledge of all the heritage that we have in presence in our territory. And it's a festival where we have concerts, conferences, we have workshops, we have also opportunities for us to have exhibitions. So it's a very diverse festival that is going to happen this week for 4 days. Well, another project we have, it's the Hammam and the Tea House of Mértola. It's a recent project. We are going to open the Hammam in 2023, this year. And it's also a place where we can also promote the heritage of the Islamic culture in a specific area. In this case, the baths, the Arabic baths, but also the gastronomy. And so it's also a very important place for us to promote the halal cuisine. And so it's also a place for us to promote the Mediterranean diet. So it's also a place of culture. It's not just a tourism site. We also participate in the Red Medinas that Barbara has presented. We have food tours of halal cuisine and Mediterranean diet tours with different activities, such as workshops related with this cuisine. And we also are developing projects to train and certificate local tourism agents in Muslim-friendly tourism. So this is the work we have been doing. For us, it's very important to develop this project, not only in the area of producing more and more knowledge about this period, but also the project related with tourism is very important that we develop this within a very wide range of partners. And so the opportunity to present Mértola at this conference and also to participate in a wide network of people, agents, institutions that are committed to develop tourism related with this heritage that we have, but also a knowledge based tourism, and also a tourism that is based on a more tolerant and sustainable way of being. For us, it's very important. And of course, I invite everyone to visit Mértola and to discover our town and our culture, because it's a place that it's a surprise for you to discover. Thank you so much again for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Rosinda. I'm looking forward to be at the Islamic Festival this weekend. I'm very excited about it. Thank you. And now we're going to give the floor to Pedro to introduce the project, and later we can discuss the impact of all of these projects on local people. Pedro is the director of Sharqalandalus. It's an association, and they are looking after their own Medina. Their own Medina, it's Belez Malaga or Balish. It used to be called in Al-Andalus period. And this association, Sharqalandalus, they are not only looking after their heritage, but also proposing a number of activities, which we find quite interesting. We had the opportunity to visit a few months ago, and it was quite a surprise because, Pedro is going to introduce it better, but it's a project that is potentially exportable to other settings. So the Medina Network is not only about generating knowledge or attracting tourism, but also we can learn from each other of the different activities we do. So Pedro, I give you the floor to explain about Balish.
Okay, thank you very much, Barbara, and thank you very much for the invitation. It's a pleasure for us to present our association and the activities that we organize here in our region. We are in the region of Axarquía. Axarquía is an Arabic word. It means the oriental part of Málaga, the province of Málaga in Andalusia in Spain. And about our association, is located in the city of Belez Málaga. The old name in Al-Andalus was Baldish, and it was created in 2018 with the aim of highlighting and defending the Andalusi historical, cultural, and artistic heritage in the region and beyond. We organized diverse activities from excursions to conferences or workshops. We have a musical group, Andalusian musical group, to disseminate the immaterial heritage poetry of authors, poets from here, from the region. And I want to talk to you a little, if you let me, about the city where we are, Belez Málaga, Medina Baldish. Belez Málaga Baldish was a very important Medina in Al-Andalus, between Granada and Málaga, with a very strategical position. And it was a very important Medina, especially in the last period of the history of Al-Andalus, as you know, the Nasrid period, that ended with the fall of Granada in 1492. From early, it obtained the category of Medina with minimum urban functions of defense, religious, and juridical administrative, with the presence of a Qadi and a governor. And the city was structured in several parts. The fortress, the Alcazaba. I will show you some cheap pictures. If I can, I'm sorry. Only 1 minute. I think that
Sure.
Spanish was a very important Medina.
I think the map that you have is very helpful to understand. And I think a lot of people, they don't know that a lot of Spanish towns and cities and small villages have all this heritage. And the way you present it in your map is very visual. So it helps a lot to understand.
You can see the Alcazaba, Alcazaba, the main mosque, Al-Masjid Al-Kabir, Al-Aswar, the walls, how it was the Medina with the gates, and the suburbs of Arrabales. Of course, in the old city, we have several parts. For example, the gates. This is the main gate. Is Bab Malaka. It was one of the make that to go into the Medina from outside. For example, here you can see the mihrab. It's a wonderful mihrab that was built in the 13th century. It's very original because the plaster that you can see is not new. It has more than 500 years. It's not like another monument that we can see that the plaster is not new. It's not the original plaster. And the decoration is wonderful in this mihrab. You can see the vegetal decoration, the geometrical decoration. And also, we find epigraphic decoration. We can read on the mihrab some quotes of the Quran, specifically the Surat al-Tuba is the chapter number 18 in the Quran. And this is a picture of the tour that we organized in the city. For example, here you can see the minaret. It's a wonderful minaret. And we find in the minaret the decoration, the geometrical decoration, and it's into a convent, the convent of San Francisco, because in Vélez Málaga, the most of the mosques became churches or houses. In this case, this important mosque in the city became a church firstly, and then it was the place for the convent of Franciscans. For example, we can find this is the decoration of the minaret. It's very singular. It's very original. We can see the azulejo. We can see the painting. It is painted with vegetal motifs inside. So, and it has a very good state of conservation. For example, here you can see.
Sorry, Pedro.
Yes.
Excuse me, before you go on, maybe you were going to say it, I don't know, but just to mention that the mihrab, the Nazari, the mihrab in Polish, it was found in a particular home, in a private house.
Yes, this mihrab firstly was inside the church, the original mosque. It was a small mosque in the suburb, in one of the suburbs of the old Medina. It became a church, a little church, and after that it became a house. And it was in the courtyard of a house. And we can see it now because the family covered the mihrab every year. They covered it with several with lime, and the lime protected the mihrab because the material is very it's not stone, it's plaster. So it's a miracle, and it's an amazing monument. It's not very famous, but it must be. It must be because I think it's the only mihrab that has the original material in Al-Andalus, in Spain and Portugal, I think. So I was talking about this picture. You can see here one of the streets of the Jewish neighborhood, because in Vélez Málaga we have two Jewish neighborhoods. The Jewish people here, they were very important, especially in commerce. And firstly, they were living inside the walls. You can see the walls here up. And then after the conquest in 1487, the Christians of the north translated the Jewish people to another place, to the suburbs, because they didn't want any people not Christian inside the walls in the Medina. Okay, we organize several activities. One of the main activities is this tour, and this tour we do it once a month in Spanish and in English. The objective is to disseminate the material and immaterial heritage in Vélez Málaga. It is a historical and theatrical walking tour, and we try that people travel in time to the Andalusi past of the city. We visit all the monuments, and also we have 4 characters. The characters, because we do a great importance and we make investigation of the Arabic fonts, and we try to recuperate the sayings, the quotes, the poetries. And for example, we have between the characters, we have a traveler, and the traveler she says the quotes and says sayings about Vélez Málaga, about Valdish. For example, Ibn Battuta, as you know, the great traveler of the 14th century, he was here in the city, and he said, if I can, I will say in Arabic and then in English, هي مدينة حسنة بها مسجد عجيب وفيها العناب والتين والفواكه كمثل ما بملقا. He said it is a prosperous Medina with an extraordinary mosque, and there are grapes and fruits as many as in Malaga. So, or for example, another, I want you to see the traveler. This is a picture of the traveler with the group near the walls of the city. And another character is the last mayor. I don't know what is he. Okay, here you can see the fortress, and here we have another character. It's the last mayor of the Nasrid Medina. Its name was Abul Qasim Benegas, and another is the poetries Al-Baldishia. Al-Baldishia is it's a poetry. Maybe she lived in 13th centuries, but we don't know very much about her. Only we know an only poem, and that she born here and she was living here. And the fourth character is a Sufi master, very important in the period, in the Nasrid period. He lived between the 13th and 14th centuries. His name was Abu Ja'far ibn Zayyad, and the performance, the place is the old great mosque of Vélez Málaga. Now it's a church, it's Santa Maria Church, and he was a Sufi master, very important, and he has a very beautiful poetry. If you want, I can say a poem. A Sufi poem, for example, دعني على حكم الهوى تسرع فعسى يلين لنا الحبيب ويخشى. Let me submit to the empire of love. The lover very sweet and obliging to us. And so that's what I can say about our association, about the city of Vélez Málaga. Of course, yeah, in this activity, Medina Palish is an amazing tour. We invite you to visit the city and to make the tour with us. And it's a traveling history to the Andalusian past of the city. For example, I want to talk you too about another activity that we are doing since 1 year approximately is a musical group, Andalusian group, and we are investigating about the ancient texts in Arabic in the region, and we are looking for Andalusian music, and you can see here the 4 women that compose the group, and they are working very hard to make the correct music and to sing in Arabic the text to translate this heritage to the people. Thank you very much. I am sorry about my English.
No, your English was perfect. Thank you, Pedro. And I think Rosinda is now thinking, I want this woman on the Islamic Festival. Yeah, they look amazing. I haven't seen them yet. Rosinda, what do you think?
I think it's wonderful. It's a pity that you are so far, and
Yes,
that the festival is this weekend. But for the next editions, I think it's very important for us to keep improving the festival. And the festival is the organization. It's of course the municipality of Mértola, but we have a partnership with a lot of other institutions. For instance, with the Fundación Las Fuentes, with Barbara, we have made this partnership as well for them to participate and introduce activities related with dissemination of knowledge regarding this Islamic cultural influence. But also we are connected with the Islamic community of Sevilla, and it's very important for us that the festival is not a local-based festival, but it's more and more a festival with a more wide approach in terms of territory, in terms of partnership, so that it can grow from one edition to the other, and that other institutions can also provide us with different activities and with different contributions, so that the festival is not just folklore. It has to be also a lot of an opportunity for us to disseminate information and to disseminate culture, and also the spirit that it's a community-based festival, and our community is just not Mértola. It's a very wide community. So it would be wonderful to have the contribution of the association for the next edition of the festival, and we should meet.
Inshallah, soon.
I forgot to say 2 things, if you let me, Barbara.
Sorry?
I forgot to say 2 things, if you let me.
Okay, go ahead, Pedro, go ahead.
One thing is that we wanted to say that Granada is very famous, Cordoba is very famous, the capitals of Al-Andalus, but there is another Andalus, it's not very, very famous, very known, for example, Vélez Málaga or Mértola, and we have a very important heritage, material and immaterial heritage, and I think we are offering the opportunity. And the second thing is that the association, for example, I was talking about the musical group, and we sing the songs in Arabic. The Arabic language is very important to disseminate how was this heritage, this immaterial heritage in the original language. And it is Arabic language. because sometimes we find that in other groups they make the same thing, but they translate the words, and it's not the same thing. The beauty that is inside the language is very important, because Arabic is a part of our culture, our history, and our heritage. And thank you very much. Shukran.
I won't tell them that you are an Arabic professor because, and you love the language,
Really,
which is beautiful.
the beauty of the language that we find in the monuments and in the poetries is wonderful. And sometimes, if you give the translation, you are losing this beauty. That's what I mean.
I agree. I agree. No, and it's there's something that a lot of people also do not know, and it's that in the peninsula we have a wealth of documents in Arabic from the period. So as we said before, this is knowledge tourism, and I think we have all of us have the same approach, that we go back to the sources to obtain real information because we want to work on knowledge. And the second thing, Pedro mentioned also this other thing, which is important. There were some capitals in Al-Andalus, but most Andalusis lived in small villages scattered throughout the peninsula. And they have what we call everyday heritage, which is very important as well. For example, agricultural practices, pottery, arts and crafts, textiles, leatherwork. I mean, there is a wealth of techniques that are passed down and trades and crafts that are learned, and many of them survive. I mean, this is a living heritage. Now, going back, if I may, to the point of sustainable tourism, there were, I think there are three things, because the concept of tourism is changing. And I think there are like three elements that are very important in our projects. One is that the visitors can engage with the local communities. As Rosinda said, the Islamic Festival, all the village, all the surrounding villages, all of them participate in organizing the festival and in running it, isn't it?
Yes, it is. And also, we have a local project of training local guides so that people can also, after the festival and within other tourism themes, they can interact with local people that can show them their personal perspective of the territory. So we also have locally a program to form local guides, and that is very, very important to have the possibility to engage with the community, and also an opportunity for the community to contact with different people. So it's a two-side relationship.
Yes. Also, in the case of Balish, I think it's a good opportunity because, of course, Pedro and his partners in the association, you know the Medina, like you know, it's your home better than anybody else. Oh, Pedro, you are mute.
Yes, we know the Medina. We are investigating, as I said, in the Arabic forms, in the front after the conquest. Historians here, they didn't work in the past about the Andalusian period very much. As you know, in Spain, the interest about the Andalusian period and the history of Al-Andalus is not very important for some people, no? We find that in France or in Germany or in England, they investigate more than here, and the heritage is present here. Here, I am talking about Spain and Portugal, and it's unbelievable. So we are investigating, where we are looking for the saying, the quotings, the poems, everything we find in Arabic is like a treasure. And so we talk with the city council, and we present some projects, especially to recover the heritage, because the monuments sometimes they have a very bad state of conservation, and that's because we are here. The activities is to disseminate is people know the importance of this legacy, but also it's very, very important to work about the conservation of the monuments. For example,
Yes,
the Mihas that we saw, they recovered it because it was very bad in the last few months. So
yes.
so it's very important.
Sorry, I have to excuse Victoria. She had to leave, unfortunately. So I'm going to explain on her behalf something that Pedro has mentioned, which is very important. If you don't get local communities to engage with their own heritage, if they don't perceive it as their own heritage, they don't value it. And one of good practice that Territorio Mudéjar has implemented in these 40 small villages in Aragon is that they have a program called Share Your Heritage. And what they do is that they have children of a school visiting a nearby village, and then they are welcomed by the children there, and they explain their heritage to these guests. And they feel proud because if you don't start with children, making them aware of the value, it's very easy to lose it. And then it can never be recovered. So I'm glad to say that in Balish, in Vélez, Malaga, the town council is now working together with your association, and they're looking for funds to recuperate, to restore some buildings and some parts of the Medina, which is really positive. Now, because we have only a few minutes left, let me go back to a topic of interest for our viewers, which is Muslim-friendly tourism. Because as you know, this is the Halal in Travel Global Summit. So a lot of the viewers will be Muslim, would be travelers. And when they travel, of course, they have a natural interest in Islamic art, architecture, history, and so on. But let me, if very briefly, if you could explain how Muslim-friendly is your project and what things can they find that would be relevant to them? And maybe when they come, they can give us some feedback. So please, Rosinda, can you explain, for example, the Hammam project, which is very interesting?
In terms of the Muslim-friendly tourism, we have been structuring our tourism offering first by training our local agents so that they can know the specifics of this niche for us. And also, we have been developing several projects that are Muslim-friendly projects in terms of tourism. The hammam and the tea house is one of them. So it's a place where people can have the experience of the Arabic baths, and it's an hammam. And it has also a tea house that it's going to be a cultural house. We will have halal cuisine so that Muslim tourists can attend. And we also have had a lot of meetings and also capacitation for us to have the facilities adjusted to the needs of the public, and also developing programs that can be of interest. Cultural visits related with being in the hammam. After the hammam, you can visit Mértola. Also offering to visit the territory related with tourism, nature tourism, also regarded also programs related with dark sky, with astronomy. So we have selected a different kind of themes that can be of interest to Islamic tourists, so that we can have a wide variety of activities related with this specific space, the hammam. It's like a place of welcoming. Of course, you have the experience of the hammam, but it's also a place where you can start your visit in Mértola with the theme of the Islamic heritage. Very important. It's for us to train people and know more about the culture in order to have tourism offer that is according to the expectations of the public.
Thank you, Rosinda. I'm sorry, Pedro, but it's almost time to close our session. I thank you very much. And I think these activities that you organize and that are built around Islamic heritage are of interest for our viewers. And they are very welcome to visit Spain and Portugal whenever they come. And please remember, there are many, many small places. We are now working hard to connect them and make them meaningful, and also to train them. As Rosinda says, training is very important, that locals are trained in Muslim-friendly tourism. And also, we didn't work a lot on the idea, but all of these projects help to boost local economies. For example, I know Rosinda, for the hammam, they were outsourcing local products like essential oils, the towels, because there are some industries around that can benefit from these activities they're running.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Rosinda, Pedro. Thank you to Victoria, who has had to leave earlier. And thank you to all the audience for coming with us in this journey through Al-Andalus, the unknown Al-Andalus. And I hope this was interesting of you. Please continue with the other sessions of the Halal in Travel Global Summit, and we'll keep in touch. Ma salama.
Thank you so much.
Bye.